upload the recording in the YouTube later. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Mbak Indah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. The Honorable Head of Soil Department, Mr. Syahrul Kurniawan, SPMP, PhD. The Honorable Head of Soil and Water Management Master Program, also our moderator today, Dr. Reni Ustiati, SPMP. The Honorable Dr. Jin Suchi from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology as our expert. Also, all of the participants today. First of all, let's we pray the praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who have given His mercy and blessed for us. So today we can join and listen to the great speaker on this hybrid event, 3-in-1 lecture management practice effects on agricultural greenhouse gas emission land, conservation and remediation techniques, subject by Soil and Water Management Master Program. I hope we are all always healthy whenever and wherever we are. Well, to take the advantage of the time, let's start this agenda by reciting Basmala together. Step on the following agenda is speech and opening by our head of department to Bapak Syahrul Kurniawan, SPMB, PhD. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Dr. Suchi. Good afternoon, Dr. Reni and all participants. First of all, I would like to thanks to the head of study program, Soil and Water Management Master Program, Dr. Reni Ustiati, and team. Also, I would like to thanks to Dr. Jin Suchi from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology for the availability to give the lecture for our student, master student in the Soil and Water Management Program. So I think all the students and participants know that this is the program is 3-in-1. Yeah, 3-in-1 is the program that's the course will be taught by the lecturer from University of Brawijaya and then expert from Orange University and practitioner. So the aim of this program is to increase the student knowledge, skill, yeah, related with the current knowledge and technology, yeah, especially for this course related with the technology for conservation and climate remediation. We are in the soil department. Thanks to Dr. Jin Suchi that will be share your experience in research and also knowledge related with the technology for conservation and land remediation. I hope all the students use this meeting, yeah, with the active, yeah, discussion, yeah. So hopefully, I think they will give you more benefit and then for supporting your knowledge and competency, yeah, after you graduate from Soil and Water Management Master Program. The last, I hope this meeting will be running well. Thank you very much to Dr. Reni and team, yeah, also for Dr. Jin Suchi. I think that's all for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Syahrul, for opening today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go to the main agenda, I'd like to take a few moments to explain the rules of this event. First, please kindly turn off your microphone and turn on the camera during the lecture. Second, The session will last approximately 100 minutes, and there will be 15 minutes break in the middle of the session. And last, if you experience any technical difficulties during the event, please use the chat feature to let us know. Our technical support team will be available to assist you. Without further ado, let's begin the event today by welcoming our moderator, Dr. Reni Ustiati, SPMP. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Iqbal, for the introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to Dr. Jin Suchi from China, from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. According to the lecture today related to soil conservation and remediation technique, this lecture will be held in 100 minutes. Each 50 minutes will be, we will have break for 15 minutes according to the master of ceremony explanation before. Before we begin the lecture, let me introduce who is the lecturer today. Okay. Her name is Dr. Jin Suchi. She is an assistant professor from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and she is professional in biometeorologist. For her educational background, start in 2011 to 2016. He was atmospheric research in Washington State University. Then in 2007 until 2011, she was safety technique in China University of Mining and Technology in Beijing. For her experience, start from August 2011 to August 2016, she was research assistant in Washington State University. Then in September 2016 to December 2021, she was postdoctoral researcher in Swedish University of Agricultural Science. Then starting in January 2022 until now, she is as an assistant professor in the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And for today's lecture, she will deliver topic related to the management practice effect on agricultural greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, Dr. Jin Suchi, you have 15 minutes before we have break. You can start your lecture.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this opportunity to give two guest lectures, and thank you so much for the introduction and the opening remarks. Let me just share my screen first. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, so as this is I think this is a very interesting course, like 3-in-1 lecture, and my topic my topic is about the management practice effects on agriculture greenhouse gas emissions. But I think because it's about 2 lectures, so I think it would be nice to have first for today. Let me just give some overview. And also the background and importance related to this agriculture greenhouse gas emissions. So basically from today, we will talk about first of all, the overview of global carbon cycle, and then followed by the soil soil pools and the fluxes and the major biogeochemical cycling processes in the soil. And then tomorrow, I will just give several specific case studies related to how management practices from agriculture are going to affect the greenhouse gas emissions or carbon budget in several regions of the world. So that's the general arrangement for these two of my guest lectures. So during the lectures, I will also have some interactions. And so just feel free to share your answers or thoughts or opinions during the lecture. So and also just feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. So without further delay, let me just get started with with the lecture today. So first of all, the learning outcomes. And by the end of this lecture, actually by the end of like after about 100 minutes, so I think the students should be able to describe the major carbon cycling processes and also understand the link between carbon cycle and climate change. So which is extremely important before we go into how we're gonna achieve the sustainable agriculture in the context of climate change. And secondly, so by the end of this lecture, students are expected to know the major mechanisms that controls the soil organic carbon pool size, and also could be able to explain why there is a large uncertainty exists in estimating soil organic carbon. And finally, students will be able to know the controlling factors that actually regulate soil CO2 and methane emissions at various spatial scales, including agricultural ecosystems and even like wetland and forests as well. So first of all, what is the carbon cycle? So I think that is by definition, it just it's really like a discipline. Actually, a discipline refers to all the processes which carbon is exchanged between the atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere. So if you take a look at the interactions between the several spheres in the Earth systems, you can see there are like many interfaces and interaction exchanges going on, which all carbon, the element carbon can exchange can happening. So if you look at the carbon cycle from the perspective of biosphere, to simplify this Earth system, so you can see the carbon basically enters the biospheric cycle through photosynthesis via plants and also algae in the ocean, right? And we also can like generally understand the carbon is basically removed through respiration, decomposition, and other natural and human processes. So just briefly, a general picture showing what is what is carbon cycle and what is like the target that we are doing research on. And also before conducting any research scientific questions, we always ask why this specific subject is important. And in our case, so first of all, we understand what is carbon cycle, and then we should talk about why is carbon cycle study important. So maybe here, I'm not sure if we have like 1 or 2 minutes to for the students, if anyone would like to share his or her opinion on the importance of study carbon cycle, no matter if it's in agriculture or a specific component of the Earth system, for example, in the soil. So can anyone say a few words on why carbon cycle study is important? Anyone? Well, if not, I can just go ahead and sharing a few reasons. So first of all, we know that carbon makes up the backbone of all life on Earth, right? And it is also the major element in the cells of all living things. And besides, if we look at the amount, so it is abundant in rocks and also sediments, and also in the atmosphere and ocean. And also, so we talk about the large amount, and also because of its complexity. So the carbon cycle is very complex because of that. It exists in various forms, for example, in the organic and also inorganic forms, right? And at the end, so when we talk about carbon emissions or carbon cycle, people just automatically or substantial give the reason. It is because why it is important, because it is one of the greenhouse gas species in the atmosphere and causing global warming potential. But the key information from this slide is actually the importance of studying carbon cycle is way beyond the global warming and climate change issue, right? So, and also we can see that the concentration, the atmospheric CO2 concentration has been increasing dramatically, about 50% higher than pre-industry level if you look at this concentration plot. And we all know that it is largely from the fossil fuel combustion. Okay, so that is just the global warming and global climate change is just one of the several important reasons of studying the carbon cycle study, but it's not all about it. All right. And also, before we have a deeper understanding the specific topic, no matter if it's a global carbon cycle or agricultural greenhouse gas emissions, I think we should make one thing clear, just to talk about the definitions of pool versus flux. Okay, so if you look at this cartoon, so describing the atmospheric greenhouse gases, so we have just assuming the greenhouse gas concentration in the atmosphere is just the amount of water in the top, and the inlet is the greenhouse gas emissions, and the outlet is the net removal of the water, right? So then this cartoon will clearly show what is pool and what is flux. So pool by definition is the amount of something that stays in a system with a defined boundary, okay? And in this case, it is the greenhouse gas concentration in the atmosphere, all right? And what about the fluxes? So the flux is defined by the amount of something that moves through a certain area per time. Okay, so that's the amount of something per area per time. So you have the area and also time playing a very important role in it. And if we look at this cartoon again, actually the incoming greenhouse gas emissions is actually the rate, which is also the flux. And also the net removals are also a parameter represent a flux parameter. Okay, so actually you know that the major differences between the two definitions. Then the important concept here is that actually the flux determines the size of a pool. Okay, so for example, the rate of this incoming water and also the outlet rate of removing the water from the tap actually determine the amount of water stay in the tap. All right, so that is important understanding concept for you to interpret or understand all these carbon cycling processes, and also how this cycling process is gonna determine the size of the soil organic carbon pool. All right, so just a little quiz. I'm not sure if it's we can do that. So here is there's a question that which of the following are pools and which are fluxes? Okay, so first of all, plant respiration, rainfall, soil carbon, consumption of plants by animal. So we can do that this quiz together. So what about the plants? are plants is pool or flux?
Pools.
Pools, very good. What about plant respiration?
Flux.
Flux, good. Rainfall,
Flux.
flux, good. Soil carbon,
Pool.
pool, very good. Consumption of plants by animals,
Pools.
think about it one more time. So it's a consumption of plants by animals. So describing this change rate, right? So one thing from one pool, moving from the pool of plant to animal. So basically that is flux. Okay, so very good. Then we dividing by like if it's living or non-living, we have abiotic pools, for example, atmosphere, water, soil, rock, and also we have the biotic pools that we have already understand plants, animals, and other decomposers in the soil, for example. Okay. So then we can talk about the global carbon pools. So as indicated by the different different circles in this figure, and also you can by the different size of the circle represents the different size of the carbon pool. For example, we have this soil and vegetation pool, permafrost carbon pool, atmosphere, surface ocean, and also deep and intermediate ocean. So just by a wild guess, which is the largest carbon pool that you can identify from these 5 major pools? And also the largest size is right here, but indicated by this blue or greenish color. So which one do you think this largest circle represents? Surface ocean, deep ocean, permafrost, atmosphere, or soil? Actually, the largest carbon pool in the globe is in the deep and the intermediate ocean, followed by the soil and the vegetation carbon pool. Okay, and then for the like smaller one is permafrost carbon pool. And also surface ocean carbon pool is kind of comparable to the atmosphere carbon pool. So that is like a general distribution, even though these numbers are from a few years ago, but the relative magnitude between these different pools are relatively stay relatively constant. All right. And then so in our specific topic, we will basically focusing on the pools of soil and also vegetation. So which you can see represents large amounts of terrestrial carbon pool in the Earth system. Okay, then we can just quickly go through several major carbon cycling processes, just using very plain description or plain language to talk about the processes. For example, the first one, the important carbon cycling pathway. So that is describe the carbon moves from the atmosphere to plants, right? And we know that the photosynthesis is the key biological biochemistry processes, which we have like utilize CO2 and water with existing of light to convert the amount of carbon to the sugar. All right, and release oxygen, to the atmosphere. So then based on this figure, we know there are several limiting factors would actually control the photosynthesis rate, okay? Basically control the rate that carbon moves from the atmosphere to the plants. For example, it will limit it by dryness, no matter if you got the dry air or dry soil conditions, all this dryness will limit the photosynthesis rate. And also the cold temperatures, for example, in the high latitude in the northern or in the northern hemisphere, for example, in the boreal region, the photosynthesis rate of this boreal forest or trees can be largely inhibited. And also the nutrient shortage, for example, phosphor and nitrogen, and especially the phosphor is way limited mostly in the tropical region, and nitrogen is like a more obvious limiting factor for plant growth in the boreal in the high latitude region, for example. And also it can like disturbances, no matter if it's the natural disturbances or the anthropogenic disturbances, for example, fires, volcano eruptions, severe storms, these gonna like actually influence the photosynthesis as well. And also there are many other reasons or factors that we will more specifically focusing on, for example, how this human activity gonna control the photosynthesis rate of crops, for example. And if we put all these numbers together or globally, we can actually compare the photosynthesis rate, which we also called or defined as the gross primary production, okay, GPP, in term by a unit of PG carbon per year, okay. And as you can see, that we have the largest GPP found in the tropical forest, okay. And also for this tropical savanna and grassland, their GPP value is also way higher than other regions, for example, compared to the temperate forest, boreal forest, okay. And of course, their global NPP value are also relatively higher in these two type of ecosystems. And NPP is just the net primary productions, which is the difference between GPP and autotrophic respiration. And then because we will focusing on the cropland specifically, and if you see what is the actual role of croplands in this global carbon budget or global GBP, you can see that it is also higher compared to, for example, the temperate grassland and tundra, and also higher than temperate forest and boreal forest as well, but it's just about half of the global GPP and of the tropical savanna and grassland. So as you can see, croplands play a really important role in this global carbon cycling. And another important number, maybe for you to get an idea, is about what is the average, or what is the average estimated for this global GBP, so which is about 120 petagram per year. Okay, so I think these are just a very straightforward information for you to understand, so I won't repeat too much. And so that is the first carbon cycling pathway. So carbon moves from the atmosphere to the plants. And then we talk about the carbon moves from plants to animals. So that is also easy to understand. So when organisms eat plants, like they will take the amount of carbon to build their own tissues. So that is that we call the herbivores, right? And also animals can get amount of carbon from plants and other animals as well through food chain. So then we are talking about carnivores and also omnivores. Okay, so that is related to the carbon cycling through this food chain. All right, and then we talk about another carbon cycling pathway. So that is carbon moves from living things to the atmosphere. Then we have to talk about the respiration, and which we call like a cellular respiration existing in all living things. So which utilize sugar with the existence of oxygen, and to produce CO2, water, and also release energy at the same time. And once again, the influencing factors that we can think of, for example, temperature, right, which actually determine the activity level of the enzyme, for example, and also water content, right? And besides those environmental factors, the glucose availability, actually like how much the substrate is available for decompose, for example, will affect the respiration rate, right? And also oxygen concentration, okay? So, and pH, soil pH, for example, gonna influence the soil respiration, and also nutrient level. If it's we talk about the nutrient shortage, gonna affect, gonna limit GPP, right? But think about how the nutrient level gonna affect the respiration. For example, when the soil is heavily fertilized, like typically it will reduce or even reduce the activity of certain soil microbe. So which will in turn reduce the amount of soil respiration. So that is just an example about how nutrient level gonna affect the respiration pathway as well. All right, so then we keep going to the fourth carbon cycling pathway, so which is about the carbon moves from plants and also animals to the ground. Then we are talking about, so when plants and animals die, most of their bodies are decomposed, right? And this amount of carbon will return into the atmosphere as a form of CO2. Okay, and also like because only part of the bodies of plant and animals will be decomposed. Some of them are not fully decomposed, will end up as a deposit into the ground, for example, into the underground, and which will eventually form oil and coals, etc., to form the fossil fuels, right? So if you look at this figure as an example, so like about 300 million ago, before the dinosaurs, like there are many giant plants died in the wetland, in the swamps, and over millions of years, these plant bodies were buried in the water and also the soil, right? As you can see here. So, and also after a very long time, the heat and pressure will turn the dead plants into coal. So that means, like, the general idea is that based on this like simple description about coal formation, so we can see that this amount of carbon will take an extremely long time to be accumulated in the deeper part of the like under the rock layer, under the rock and soil layer, right? So that is another like a relatively slow carbon cycling pathway. So carbon moves from plants and animals to the ground, okay? And then we keep talking about a very fast carbon moving pathway. So as you can see here, number 5, carbon moves from the fossil fuels to the atmosphere, right? So that is when human beings burn fossil fuels to power their cars, factories, and also to be through these power plants, most of the carbon will quickly enter the atmosphere as CO2. So very contrasting carbon cycling processes compared to this the previous one. All right. And then another important carbon cycling processes involved in the ocean ecosystem. So as illustrated in this figure, so first of all, as you can see, the CO2 will pass into the seawater from the atmosphere. So we talked about how like at the very beginning about how CO2 get into the biosphere. through like primarily through plant photosynthesis. But if we talk about the ocean system, the CO2 will also enter from the atmosphere to the ocean, pass into the seawater. And then the phytoplankton in the ocean will take up CO2 to build their own tissues and biomass, right? And then the zooplankton will eat phytoplankton and at the same time respire CO2, okay? And there will be small amount of carbon reaches to the deeper ocean, deeper part of the ocean, and eventually buried in the seafloor sediments, okay? Then some carbon sinks even like to a deeper layer in the form of like a decaying biota and also those like phycophthalates, like as a particular carbon fluxes indicated here. And then over about 1 million years, carbon is like this amount of carbon will be incorporated into rocks. Okay, so and after that, so we talk about the seventh major carbon cycling pathway. So carbon moves from rocks to the atmosphere and water again. So when we talk about the rocks, the amount of carbon incorporated into the rocks deep in the ocean, right? And then rocks will be eventually uplifted, okay, onto land and exposed to chemical and also physical weathering processes, as you can. So as you can see from this uplifting processes from the deeper layer to the land again, and also at the same time, after this weathering processes, it will release carbon into soil, water, and atmosphere again. So where they are available to participate in the carbon cycle once again. So that is based on these 7 major carbon cycling processes, we can generally describe how the element, the important and also essential element of carbon gonna exchange or gonna cycle in the entire global system, okay? So then I think we basically cover all the sink and sources of carbon already. And also this figure summarized, this is a newly updated global carbon balance figure showing all these carbon sink and source sectors. So if we're focusing on the size of the arrows and also the different colors of the arrows. So first of all, the largest, the gray arrow represents the carbon emission related to fossil fuel combustion. So which actually account for 90% of the carbon of the source term. Okay, and then if you look at this smaller yellow arrow here, that is the carbon emission due to land use and land change. So actually account for the remaining 10%. Then we talk about the sink term. So if you look at all the arrows pointing down to the land surface, or pointing down to the land and also pointing to the ocean. So that the first one is that the terrestrial or the vegetation part, the terrestrial ecosystem actually accounts for about 28% of the global carbon sink, followed by another important carbon sink by the ocean, so which accounts for about 25%. So then we have some remaining existing the amount of carbon stay in the atmosphere. So basically this source and sink term will balance out theoretically. However, if you pay attention on this small text here, you can see there is a budget imbalance, which is about 0.3 gigaton carbon per year. So like theoretically, those sink or source terms should be balanced, but why we still have this budget imbalance here? Anyone would like to share some thoughts? So if not, I can initiate some discussion. Because we have talked about the major sink and source terms already in the global system, right? And theoretically, we still have this imbalance number, these residuals. If we further look at the where the budget imbalance coming from, we can actually get some idea about why we still have this budget imbalance. So this is showing how this like different source and sink terms gonna change from year to year, way back to 1960. And the color, the shade area represents the uncertainty in this carbon sink estimate. And here, as you can see, this red or pink panel shows this imbalance term. So if you pay attention on the magnitude of this budget imbalance, so which about 2 gigaton per year, right? And if you also check other sectors, other sink source term here, and as you can see, first of all, we have the first intuitive information that we get from this slide is that the land carbon sink, the interannual variability of land carbon sink is way large than other terms, right? And also if you pay attention on the uncertainty of this land carbon sink, it is pretty much comparable to this budget imbalance uncertainty. Well, for the other terms, that the uncertainty is relatively smaller. Okay, so that means, first of all, the first information is that the uncertainty in estimating land carbon sink is a major reason causing this budget imbalance. So that means we still don't have we still have a incomplete understanding of this land carbon cycling processes. So we don't have a very clear or complete understanding about this carbon cycling the science of related to carbon cycling, especially for the terrestrial ecosystems. Okay, so that is one source or one reason causing this carbon imbalance. And the second one is because these numbers are estimated mostly using model simulations. Well, those limited estimating approaches, so no matter if it's a modeling approach or measurement approach, they all have relatively larger uncertainty, right? So that is a second constraint about this research approaches, which actually contribute to this carbon budget imbalance again at this global scale. So that is also another reason why we still need to put a lot of time and efforts on this global carbon cycle discipline study. Okay, then we can talk about this we have already talked about how global carbon cycle is important and what is the challenging existing already, and also how this increasing greenhouse gas emissions, also for example also the increasing CO2 in the atmosphere, how this gonna affect the global warming and also global climate. Okay, then in the context of global climate change, we must develop some strategies in terms of mitigation and adaptation, right? So that is closely related to the agriculture greenhouse gas emissions that we will focusing on in these 2 lectures. So basically mitigation and adaptation. So as you can see, they are quite different strategies that we need to apply in the context of climate change. For example, if we talk about mitigation, so basically we are talking about how we're gonna reduce carbon emissions, for example, through through like improving the energy efficiency and also using some renewable energy sources to replace the fossil fuel energy sources. And then also in terms of mitigation. So when we talk about mitigation, that means you can just understand it as what we can do to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere, right? So, and then we can apply some carbon capture, utilization, storage technologies, which we call the CCUS. And also we can enhance the carbon sequestration through in the terrestrial ecosystem, for example, through afforestation and also reforestation. And also when we talk about enhancing carbon sequestration relate to our specific topic, how we gonna increase the carbon sequestration rate in the agriculture ecosystem is also a very interesting topic for us to go through or for us to talk about in today or tomorrow. And another group of strategy is adaptation. So which is quite different than the mitigation strategy. For example, what does adaptation mean? Means as an example, how we develop the resilient and sustainable agricultural management practices that can help the crops and also help the crops and also to maintain the crop yield, even though they are exposed to this increasing temperature and also altered precipitation pattern, and also to help them to adapt the changing growth environment. Okay, and also we have like more and more frequent extreme event going on that can even destroy the entire croplands. So how are we gonna improve these management practices that can help those plants and crops? So that is one of the adaptation goal we need to achieve. And also related to other ecosystem types. So for example, we can spend some efforts on and also address how we can optimize this ecosystem management strategy, and also eventually to protect the vulnerable infrastructures and also populations from the extreme weather events. So that is also an example of how we gonna address this adaptation strategy in the context of climate change. So before we go into next topic about specifically on this soil pool and the fluxes, do we have any questions related to this overview of global carbon cycle?
Yes, our student have question. After the question, we will have 15 minutes breaks.
Okay, good.
Please mention your name and say your question. Please, louder, please.
Thanks. I need to give a
Can you
question.
hear the?
Sorry, not very clear.
Okay, louder, please.
My question is, my name is Arif. I want to ask, my question is, it's mentioned there are total GGP and NBP values in several biomass. For total GGP, the largest is obtained in tropical forest, and the second is savanna, tropical, and grassland. What I want to ask is why the tropical savanna and grassland biomass have higher value than temperature forest. Maybe can explain to me what the supporting factor in this biomass?
All right, very good question. Thanks. So, so you mentioned why there are like the GPP is extremely high in this, even though in tropical savanna and grassland. So that is like the two important lim or influencing factors that as you can guess that in the tropical region we have enough. The simple answer is we have enough sunlight and also water. So no matter so in terms of temperature and moisture, they are like very suitable for to increase the photosynthesis rate for both trees and also grass. So that is one explanation for this high GPP value in this tropical and forest and savanna grassland ecosystems.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Any feedbacks?
Enough.
Oh, enough.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mr.
we will continue the lecture after 15 minutes breaks.
Okay, all right, thank you.
To continue for the lecture. Thank you.
All right, good. So now I guess we could continue. So after talking about the overview of the global carbon cycle and basically talk about the distribution or spatial distribution about the different carbon pools, so we can continue and zoom in into our topic, agriculture related. But before that, I still would like to introduce some concepts and also some basic theory related to soil carbon pools and fluxes. So first of all, the major carbon cycling processes in the soil that we are specifically interested in can be described in this figure. As you can see, if you just pay attention on this soil component of this wetland ecosystem. So and on this like the big arrow represents the oxygen level, right? So we have this anaerobic condition, and also we have aerobic condition. Okay, so we like the primary input of the carbon in the soil is through sequestration. Okay, as you can see here, and then this amount of carbon will store in the soil and will undergo decomposition of of organic matter, if it's when you have enough oxygen, so like CO2 will be produced and then eventually emitted from the soil through diffusion. If you get like for example in the wetland ecosystem, so where you have not enough oxygen, like another strong greenhouse gas called methane will be produced in the same time. So and then they can like emit it either through from the water surface or also emitted directly through from the soil through diffusion. Okay, so that is a very general description about the major carbon cycling processes that will eventually affect the soil CO2 and methane emissions that we will specifically talk about later on during this lecture. Then if you still remember this figure that I showed the sources and sinks of the global carbon balance. So if you pay attention on this this green dot here, indicating the size of the soil carbon pool, right? So the soil actually stores about 1,700 gigaton carbon across the globe. So huge carbon storage compared to other, for example, if you compare to even it's much higher than permafrost and also higher than the vegetation carbon pool. Okay, and so we know that, remember, when we talk about the importance of carbon cycle study, we talk about the carbon exists in various forms. So, and that's why it's very complex. And if you still remember, we have the organic and also inorganic carbon forms existing. Also, that is true in the soil system. So if we talk about the transform from organic carbon to inorganic carbon, then we are talking about the soil mineralization. Okay, so that means this is the decomposition of organic matter and also release the nutrients in the soluble inorganic forms that can be eventually utilized for plant growth. So very important process in happening in the soil. Well, in the other direction, so transform from inorganic carbon to organic, which we have this immobilization processes going on. So that is basically representing the inorganic nutrients taken up by soil microbes, so who actually are competing the resources against plants, right? Because both plants and also microbes can utilize these inorganic nutrients. And if we talk about this as the consumption by the soil microbes, then that is the processes related to soil immobilization. Okay, so that is basically two major transform processes going on in the soil. And in the we just focusing on, so in this lecture we will specifically focusing on this soil organic carbon pool. Okay, so when we look at this distribution of terrestrial carbon pools, both for the above ground and also for the below ground. And also I think there we had one student asking a very good question, why we have this so much higher tropical GPP compared to other regions of the world. So this is also another figure showing that because in the tropical region we have enough sunlight and also like heat and moisture, so that is actually we have a lot of biomass accumulation, especially for this above ground biomass. Okay, and compared to other regions, for example, this cool temperate dry, cool temperate moist region, So, and by contrast, if you look at this below ground organic carbon pool, so you find the largest soil organic carbon pool allocated in the boreal region. So then why is that? We understand we have this highest GBP in the tropical region, but why that can create the largest above ground plant biomass pool, but why we have the largest soil organic carbon pool in the boreal region? So this is a very like just contrasting pattern showing the distribution, the different distribution from between the above ground and below ground. So to answer this question, then we will introduce another term like turnover time. So that is the amount of total SOC, soil organic carbon, divided by the amount of NPP that is incorporated in the soil. So then it is a turnover time. So then would the tropical forest have a shorter turnover time or longer one? Just based on I think it is like more like a common sense. But if you think about the equation like this, you can give like a comparison about this soil turnover time in different regions and also in different ecosystem types. So for example, in the tropical forest, it has the shortest turnover time. That means also it has the highest turnover rate, right? And also which is smaller than the tropical savanna and grassland, and also smaller than the tropical than the temperate forest, followed by temperate grassland and shrubland, right? And also boreal forest will have like a longer turnover time. Who has the longest turnover time? Which type of biome that may have the longest turnover time? Even longer than the boreal forest. So that is actually the tundra. So based on this, we could actually explain why we have like the largest soil organic carbon pool allocated in the below ground of in the boreal region, right? Because it has the longest turnover time and also the slowest turnover rate. Okay, so actually this one explains the above spatial distribution pattern. So also by like if we look at the three, we can divide the SOC pools into three category or three groups by turnover time. So first of all, we have this recalcitrant SOC pool, so which is actually very stable and passive and has the longest turnover time. And then followed by this, we call this slow SOC and also the humus layer. And then where is the most active then layer is in here, that we have this labile SOC. Okay, so as you can see, this labile SOC, this active SOC, and all these living organisms is like categorized into this labile SOC pool. So that means the size, as you can see from this the carbon flows in a very simple model, like in this eccentric model. So as you can see that the size of each SOC pool is highly dependent on the soil texture and also the climate. Remember the contrasting pattern between tropical and boreal region, and also it will depend on the plant input, okay, microbial activity, management practices, etc. So just keep that in mind, that these several factors gonna affect the size of each SOC pool, okay? And then when we talk about the size of SOC pool, so I'm not sure if any of you still remember when we talk about the flux and the pool, the definitions of flux and the pool. So actually we mentioned the flux can determine the size of a certain pool, right? So then we have to talk if we want to understand what is actually influencing the size of SOC, we have to have a clear understanding about how SOC is accumulated or lost from this the soil module. Okay, so and then we have at the beginning of this lecture we describe the major input into the soil organic carbon is through this plant carbon input, right? And then through microbial decomposition, so basically these two pathways or fluxes gonna control the size of this SOC, the size of the SOC pool, right? So that and also as you can see, I labeled here is a century old view. So what about now? What is the new view here? So the new view is that it's actually the people have found that not only these two processes can determine these SOC pools, people also find this microbial biomass can also determine the accumulation of SOC. So, and also we will talk about this, so because this microbial biomass build up and also this microbial decomposition, so we use this microbial carbon use efficiency to describe the dominant pathway that is actually controlling the SOC accumulation and losses. So that is something like a new, the major difference between this new view compared to this century-old view. So and then here is actually how this microbial biomass residues that we call the nicromass have been identified as a important source of SOM or SOM. So which we also call this a microbial carbon pump, as illustrated here. So basically, they add additional SOC accumulation pathway into this traditional SOC input that is mainly from the plant input. Remember, but the major last way is still this SOC decomposition. So then I mentioned because the microbial has the role of both decompose to consume the SOC or SOM and also at the same time to build the SOM. So then we use this carbon use efficiency to describe what's the net role of microbes in the soil that is affecting the size of SOC. Okay, so using this parameter, we could describe the microbial partitioning of carbon used in metabolism. So that is actually going towards the growth versus respiration, okay? Accumulation versus loss. And also use this carbon use efficiency, we could express a dual, two processes, like how microbes can control between SOC accumulation and also losses. Okay, so and also this one is a integrated matrix that can capture the balance of SOC accumulation and also losses via these microorganisms. So very important definition, not only about this SOM decomposition anymore. And this actually the importance of microbial carbon use efficiency in global carbon storage. How this new view gonna affect this global SOC. This one has been just published in Nature last year. So which brings important attention, which brings many attentions about to emphasizing the role of soil microbes in this SOC formation and also decomposition. And further on, like people use this because we have two different sources for this SOM or SOC accumulation. Remember, one is from the above ground, and the other one is from the below ground, from this nicromass. So, and this like the source of SOC accumulation actually differs from between different type of ecosystems. For example, forest versus grassland. And through experimental setup, researchers have already found that for grassland ecosystem, they the major origins of this SOM is dominated by this carbon input from below ground. So from this microbial carbon pump mechanism. Well, as for the forest, the major incoming SOM resources, is from the above ground plant. So from this litterfall or this above ground plant input into the soil. So that is a very interesting and contrasting driving mechanisms controlling the SOC pools in different ecosystem types. And at the same time, because we mentioned about the role of soil microbes in the soil carbon pool formation, so we also this is another study or a catchment scale study, very consisting of a lot of labor or field intensive work conducted in Boreal, Sweden, in northern Sweden. I think is published last year. So through this large scale soil survey plots from this field inventory, we actually find the carbon stocks, for example, this tree carbon pool, how it varies with soil moisture. So as you can see, the soil moisture is also another important regulating factor. Control this, if you pay attention on this panel C, controlling the size of these organic carbon pools. Okay, and also we have also do this measurement for this mineral soil carbon pools as well, which this is kind of linear increasing. Well, for this carbon stock, organic carbon stock, it has a more exponential relationship with this soil moisture condition. Okay, so why I'm mentioning the different mechanisms and also influencing environmental conditions for this soil carbon pools. So that is actually I'm trying to bring up a point that even though we have some investigated remember this how we gonna improve this new view based on this century-old view. So how we gonna introduce new mechanisms, and also we have done a lot of time-consuming effort to address this SOC pool variations. However, we still have large uncertainty in estimating SOC pools. So here is just an example about how this model simulation compared with this observation. So people have used many different models to estimate soil carbon, but as you can see that none of the models have or could give reasonable results compared to the measurement. So that means we still have this poor representation of SOC in the Earth system model. Okay, so even though you can see even though that we have divided into different type of ecosystems, but still we don't have a clear picture, or at least for the model simulations, they are not doing a very good job in this specific SOC pool estimate. So once we talk about the SOC formation and losses, so then we keep talking about this soil carbon fluxes. And in this study, we will mainly focusing on the soil CO2 fluxes, which is also described as soil respiration. And also we will talk about the soil methane fluxes. So this will have this like a general description on this soil carbon pools and fluxes, so which will be extremely relevant and important for our tomorrow's lecture. So SOC, so for this soil CO2 fluxes, so that is actually a measure of carbon dioxide CO2 released from soil, right? So very easy to understand. And also it is, when we talk about the soil respiration, it is actually the sum of all the autotrophic and also heterotrophic respiration fluxes beneath the ground. But we have some exception. All right, so that is I'm bringing up this question. So does soil respiration, so based on this definition, equal to heterotrophic respiration? So heterotrophic respiration is the amount of CO2 release rate by this SOM decomposition. So you can understand it as that. So would these two respiration the same? Of course not, right? Because when we talk about it should be the it should be the sum of the autotrophic and also heterotrophic. So when we talk about the soil respiration, is basically we have this for example, the SOM decomposition rate plus the root respiration, right? So, but we have some exception here. If we have this, for example, this is a mangrove ecosystem. So for some species, for some mangrove species, we have this respiration roots. And this amount of autotrophic respiration is actually occurred outside the soil boundary. Okay, so that is one example to illustrate the differences between these two respiration terms. Okay. Then we will also focusing on the soil methane fluxes, and it can be produced in when you have enough oxygen, and also when you have this when your oxygen level is low. So, and typically the majority methane emissions are from the wetland soils. Okay. And at the same time, for this upland soil, it is typically a strong sink for atmospheric methane. So we have researchers have found many studies that observe the methane uptake by upland soils. So not always a methane emission or methane source of the soil. Okay, so then we will just show some studies related to, first of all, related to the soil CO2 fluxes. As we can see that it is has a strong dependence on temperature, right? No matter if it's a soil or air temperature. And we, like, people have plot this, for example, soil respiration rate as a function of temperature. As you can see that even it's a linear or typically should be an exponential relationship with the temperature, depending on and also this sensitivity to the temperature is quite different across different ecosystem types. So I think that is easy to understand, because at the beginning we talked about how this temperature gonna affect the enzyme activity, which is extremely important in controlling this respiration rate. And also the soil CO2 fluxes is highly dependent on the substrate availability. And this is a very interesting topic about to show how this soil CO2 fluxes gonna affected by the substrate availability, and also conducted by a famous using a famous experiment several years ago in northern Sweden. So as you can see that from this title of this Nature paper, that large-scale forest gardening shows that the current photosynthesis drives the soil respiration. So that means the newly formed photosynthesis gonna actually control the soil respiration. But how this experiment was conducted is using this very smart way. So to do this large scale girdling. So that, as illustrated in these two figures, as you can see from based on this girdling, this will stop the newly formed substrate from photosynthesis. It will stop the transform from this above ground to the underneath of the ground. But at the same time, the tree can still can be still alive, okay? But just with one substrate transformation pathway stopped. So stripping the stem bark to the depth of the current xylem, okay? So this figure clearly shows how this girdling gonna control the soil respiration. So the black dots represents the control plot. And this one, if you pay attention on this early girdled, you can see there is a dramatic, like the triangle plot, there is a dramatic reduced soil respiration after this early girdling experiment, and which is further approved by this late girdling plot. So at during the peak of the growing season, another late girdling plot experiment was performed. And then you can see right after this late girdling, the soil respiration was reduced right after that. So that means this newly formed photosynthesis gonna control the soil respiration dramatically. So this is a very smart experiment and also simple idea to demonstrate how the soil CO2 flux is gonna dependent on this substrate availability. And also at the same time, my previous research group had found this bimodal diurnal pattern in this respiration. So if you can have a closer look at the soil respiration actually peaked also during the nighttime. So and which they find is also quite different because theoretically we thought this the soil respiration gonna achieve the one peak value during the daytime during the around the noon, because it's a highly function of temperature, right? But these papers shows that in the peatland ecosystems, they have found this elevated or increased soil temperature occurring during the nighttime as well. Okay. So then we can just quickly talk about the wetland soil methane emissions. Okay, remember the soil methane emissions are basically produced in the wetland ecosystem. And this is the FluxNet methane based on this global synthesis study. So all these different wetland types. So for this synthesis study, we could see the average methane emissions and also the distributions of the methane emissions around the globe. And also they have found the strong seasonal variations of this soil methane emissions and further allocated into different latitude. For example, if we are interested in this maybe subtropical wetland, so as you can see, the highest value is actually found in July, August, September. Well, for the other seasons, they all have higher methane emissions compared to the northern and also temperate wetland.
Excuse me, Jackie.
Yes.
We have 5 minutes more. How about use as discussion session and we can continue the topic for tomorrow lecture?
Yes, I think yes. Okay, let me see how much left. Sure. Maybe we can stop here and continue the methane, soil methane emissions tomorrow. Okay? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Thanks for
Okay.
the reminder. Yeah.
The Q&A session, please, for the audience that joining us online through Zoom meeting, you can ask your question by typing your question to the chat box, or you can ask your question directly by raising your hands. And for students that joining us in this conference room, you can ask your question directly, please. Okay, we have question from Faiza. She will ask the question directly. Please come
Okay.
closer. Jadi can hear your voice loud. Okay, please say your name first. Mention your name, then your question.
Hello, Miss Vicky. My name is Faiza, and I will ask about I interest about the mitigation CCUS. Now, the function is to be a permanent storage place for the carbon that cannot to be utilised tidak bisa tidak dapat dimanfaatkan lagi. Ya.
Okay, her question is about CCUS, which is this is as carbon storage permanently. Then
It will be
And
probably
then-
the future.
okay, so CCUS is a carbon storage, which is can storage carbon permanently. And the question is, how about the future problem, because CCUS could not be utilized in the future?
Okay. Thanks, Faiza. I think that's a very good question. And also it's more like a technology and engineering related, or the geoengineering related topic. So first of all, I would say, compared to the nature-based solution that we are interested in, for example, how we're gonna improve the agriculture, how we're gonna increase the carbon sink strength through this natural ecosystems. So that is more like a resilient or sustainable way to achieve this mitigation approach compared to this high technology and engineering approaches. That is my personal view. And also relate to this about this how what about the future, how this gonna affect the environment, or even affect this entire earth system in the long run. So that is something that I don't think I have enough knowledge to comment on this specific topic, because for example, a lot of people gonna store, like capture some the CO2 concentrations and store maybe into the deep layer of the lithosphere, into the lithosphere, right? So that is one huge geoengineering way, and we don't really know what is the actual consequence that it may cause. So I think that is, in general, that is, and also when we talk about this technology, those high-tech issues, we need to consider what other energy or resources would be consumed or needed. So that means you may get involved in some other carbon consumption related to the the engineer related to this energy input. So I think that's overall that is a not very clear pattern for this. What about the future impact from this specific technology? And that is something that I can give this general comments on, but I'm not a really expert in this field, so just share some of my personal thoughts on this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Jackie, for your response, because we are now, we are running out of time, so we can continue our discussion for tomorrow's lecture. We will have the same lecture at the same time,
Okay.
1 Western Indonesia time. You can join us through this conference room, or you can join us online. For all the audience that joining us online, please kindly join us again tomorrow at the same time, 1 p.m. Western Indonesia time, and you can ask your question related to the topic that really interesting for today's discussion, starting from the carbon cycle, carbon pools, carbon flux, also how to mitigate global climate change, also the adaptation that delivered by Dr. Jinsu Chi. And please come join us again tomorrow with the same topic, management practice effects on agricultural greenhouse gas emission. See you tomorrow, Jackie, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. See you.
See ya. Okay,